Captain Jake Morrison had seen a lot of weird stuff in his 5 years with the Galactic Archaeological Survey, but the vault on Nexara Prime took the cake, and then ate it, and then probably filed a complaint about the cake's molecular structure. "Captain Morrison, I must insist you treat this discovery with appropriate gravitas," Commander Vex said. All 4 of his arms crossed in what Jake had learned was the Quellan equivalent of supreme disappointment. "This vault has remained sealed for 3,000 standard years. Yeah, and it'll probably stay sealed for 3,000 more if we keep talking about appropriate gravitas." Jake kicked a pebble at the massive obsidian structure. It was the size of a small building, covered in symbols that hurt to look at directly, and hummed with a frequency that made his fillings ache. "What's the plan, Vex? Ask it nicely to open? Maybe try please in 17 different languages?" "That was attempted in 2847, Vex said, without a hint of irony. "Protocol suggests we—" "Let me guess. More protocols?" Jake walked around the vault, his scanner beeping uselessly. Every species in the galaxy had taken a crack at this thing. The Xinthians had tried nuclear bombardment. The Crystalline Collective had attempted phase shifting. Some desperate treasure hunters had even tried a really big crowbar. Nothing. Nada. Zilch. "The vault's composition defies analysis," Vex continued, consulting a datapad with 2 hands while the other 2 gestured expressively. "It appears to exist slightly out of phase with normal space-time, yet responds to biosignatures of organic life. However, it has rejected every species that has attempted to interface with it." "So what you're saying is—" Jake turned back to face his partner. "It's the galaxy's most expensive paperweight. That is a gross oversimplification that lacks appropriate gravitas. Yeah, I got it." Jake grinned. "Tell you what, Commander, I'll try really hard to be serious while we wait for the expert to show up and tell us what we already know. That nobody has any idea what they're doing." Vex's mandibles clicked in what Jake chose to interpret as grudging acceptance. In the distance, a shuttle began its descent, kicking up the rust-colored dust of the dead planet. This was either going to be the discovery of the Millennium or the most expensive wild goose chase in survey history. Jake was betting on the goose. Dr. Mira Kowalski emerged from the shuttle like a force of nature, wild grey hair escaping from a dozen clips, 3 tablets tucked under one arm, and a coffee thermos that proclaimed, "Xenolinguists do it with syntax." Behind her, a small, 3-eyed Physian practically vibrated with anxiety. "Dr. Kowalski, welcome to—" Vex began. "Where's the vault? No, wait, don't tell me. That big impossible thing that makes my brain itch? Yes? Good. Pip, unpack the linguistic analyzers. Captain Morrison, I presume." She grabbed Jake's hand and shook it vigorously. "Loved your report. Like a really angry disco ball made of spite. Brilliant description of the Xinthian bombardment scoring." "I have my moments," Jake said, instantly liking her. Pip, the Physian, scurried forward with an armload of equipment that threatened to topple him. "Dr. Kowalski, shouldn't we establish a proper base camp first and run safety protocols? What if there's residual radiation from the nuclear tests, or quantum instabilities, or we could just look at the really cool ancient alien vault, Pip, live a little." "I've run statistical analyses on living a little, Doctor. The mortality rate is unacceptable." Jake snorted. He was going to like this crew. Over the next several hours, they reviewed 3 millennia of failure. Holograms displayed attempt after attempt. The Thexian energy grid assault, vault unaffected. The crystalline harmonic resonance, vault unimpressed. The infamous incident where the war beast clans just threw increasingly large objects at it, vault unbothered. "This symbol here," Mira said, projecting a close-up, "roughly translates to worthy or possibly stupid enough to try. The precursor language is notoriously contextual." "What about this one?" Jake pointed to a swirling glyph. "Either cosmic joke or bathroom, could go either way." "I am surrounded by children," Vex muttered. Mira ran her fingers across a holographic display. "The vault doesn't just reject attempts to open it, it responds. Look at these readings. Every failed attempt generates a unique energy signature, almost like it's testing each species." "Testing for what?" Pip asked, 3 eyes widening in concern. That's the trillion-credit question. Mira stepped back, surveying the vault with the intensity of someone solving a puzzle. The biosignatures trigger responses. Every known genetic profile has been rejected. It's waiting for something specific. Or someone, Jake added. Vex's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. The precursors died out 10,000 years ago. Why would they create a lock that can only be opened by a species that didn't exist yet? Maybe they were optimists, Jake suggested, or really bad at planning. Mira said quietly. They knew exactly what they were doing. The next 18 hours were a masterclass in expensive failure. Pip's first attempt involved a quantum resonance chamber that he swore would synchronize biorhythmic patterns across dimensional frequencies. It made a sound like a dying synthesizer, and then exploded into harmless but extremely embarrassing purple foam. I may have miscalibrated the... You think? Jake helped the Physian wipe foam from his eyes. Vex insisted on Protocol 23A, formal diplomatic introduction. He stood before the vault in full ceremonial regalia, reciting credentials in 17 languages for 45 minutes. The vault did nothing. Jake fell asleep, standing up. Mira tried linguistic approaches, singing reconstructed precursor hymns that sounded like what would happen if a whale learned opera. She attempted mathematical proofs presented in symbolic form. She tried interpretive dance. In my defense, she said after the dance, it worked once on Theta Geminorum. That was a door, not a vault, Pip pointed out. A door is just a vault that gave up. By hour 20, everyone was exhausted, cranky, and no closer to answers. That's when Director Marcus Gorman arrived, a human bureaucrat with hair plugs, 2 white teeth, and the predatory smile of someone who saw profit margins instead of wonder. Captain Morrison, Dr. Kowalski, excellent work so far. He hadn't looked at the vault once, too busy scanning reports on his tablet. However, the survey board is concerned about resource allocation. We've received several generous offers from private contractors interested in acquiring exploration rights. You want to sell access to the vault, Mira said flatly. I want to ensure humanity benefits from human discoveries. That smile got wider. You have 24 hours to produce results. Otherwise, we're bringing in specialists with more practical approaches. You mean plasma torches and greed, Jake said. I mean results, Captain. Gorman checked his watch, an antique Rolex that probably cost more than Jake's ship. Clock's ticking. After he left, the team sat in defeated silence. I hate that guy, Jake announced. Concurred, Vex said. I've run probability analyses, Pip said morosely. Our chances of success in 24 hours are 0.0003%. That's not accounting for additional variables like... We get it, Pip. We're doomed. Jake stared at the vault. 3,000 years, thousands of species. And we're supposed to crack it before a used car salesman in a suit turns this into a theme park. The vault hummed its eternal mocking hum. Night fell on Nexara Prime. Well, the planet's half-rotation cycle that passed for night. The team sat around a portable heater, exhausted and out of ideas. Gorman's deadline hung over them like a guillotine made of quarterly earnings reports. My grandmother, Jake said suddenly, made the worst pierogi in human history. Vex's translator struggled with pierogi for a moment. This is relevant because... It's not, but we're doomed anyway, so I might as well tell you. Jake leaned back, grinning at the memory. She'd boil them until they achieved sentience, and then pan-fry them in motor oil. We're talking food that violated the Geneva Convention. My cousin once used one as a hockey puck. It shattered the goal. Mira snorted. I'm serious. My uncle said eating them was like chewing philosophical concepts. They existed beyond taste, beyond texture, in some hellish culinary dimension where flavor went to die. Jake was warming up now, the absurdity of it all hitting him. And the woman was so proud of them. She'd make hundreds every Christmas. We'd all pretend to eat them, sneaking them to the dog, who, and I cannot stress this enough, also refused to eat them. He started laughing. Not a polite chuckle, but a full-body, genuine belly laugh at the sheer ridiculousness of his grandmother's cooking and their current situation and everything about this stupid, impossible vault. The vault hummed. Then it vibrated. Then it lit up like a Christmas tree having an existential crisis. Everyone froze. Jake, Mira whispered. Laugh again. What? Laugh! He forced out a ha-ha, and the vault dimmed immediately. No, the real laugh, the genuine one! Pip was frantically scanning. The vault responded to biorhythmic patterns associated with human genuine laughter. It's analyzing neurochemical markers for authentic emotional response. Jake tried to recapture the feeling, but knowing everyone was watching made it impossible. The vault continued to dim. The pierogi story, Mira said. What happened next? She once shipped them to my brother in Afghanistan. The memory bubbled up. Military postal inspectors flagged the package as a potential biological weapon. No joke. They had to X-ray them because the density was inconsistent with known food substances. The laugh came naturally this time, and the vault blazed with light. Symbols began shifting, rearranging themselves across the surface. Keep going! Vex was actually excited, all four arms taking notes. The woman thought recipes were suggestions from weak-minded individuals. Jake was really going now, tears streaming down his face. She'd add ingredients based on moon phases and what she'd dreamed the night before. We once had peanut butter pierogi because Mercury was in retrograde. The vault's hum became a harmonic chord. Sections began to separate, with the grinding sound of mechanisms that hadn't moved in millennia. Don't stop laughing. Pip was practically dancing with excitement. I once saw her chase my father with a wooden spoon for 40 minutes because he suggested using a cookbook. Jake dissolved into helpless laughter, the kind that hurt your stomach and made your face ache. The vault opened. The interior was vast, stretching beyond what the external dimensions should have allowed. Crystalline structures rose like trees in a forest, each one pulsing with soft, bioluminescent light. And floating in the center of it all was a hologram. Not a recording, an AI. Jake could tell by the way it moved, tracking them with ancient intelligence. Welcome, it said in perfect, unaccented galactic common. You have passed the test. The hologram shifted, showing images. Species after species approaching the vault, attempting to open it, failing. Thousands of attempts over thousands of years. The precursors built this vault, the AI continued, not as a treasure chest, but as a responsibility. Within these walls exists the genetic record of 12 million extinct species, the last hope for dead worlds and forgotten life. Mira gasped. Pip's three eyes were wider than Jake had ever seen them. For 3,000 years, we have tested every species that discovered this place. The Xinthians brought force. The Crystalline Collective brought logic. The Quellans brought protocol. Vex's mandibles twitched. All worthy traits, but none were sufficient. Why laughter? Jake asked. Why that specifically? Because, the AI said, the universe is fundamentally absurd. To hold the power of life and death over millions of species requires a specific wisdom, the ability to find joy in the face of hopelessness, to laugh at impossible situations, to see humor in cosmic irony. The hologram shifted again, showing humans throughout history, laughing in trenches, cracking jokes during disasters, finding comedy in tragedy. Only a species that can laugh at the void itself can be trusted not to abuse this power. Only a species that finds humor in their own insignificance can have the humility to wield creation. This is insane, Jake breathed. Precisely, the AI said, almost warmly. Shall we begin? The sound of expensive shoes on ancient stone interrupted the moment. Gorman had arrived, alerted by the energy readings. Excellent work, Captain. Now, if you'll step aside, we need to catalog these resources and begin assessments for... The vault's entrance slammed shut behind him. The AI's hologram turned, and if a hologram could look disapproving, this one nailed it. Genetic markers recognized. Human. Variant standard. Testing for compatibility. Gorman laughed. A forced, corporate laugh designed to put clients at ease and close deals. The vault went dark around him. Insufficient. Rejection. Subject lacks capacity for genuine joy. Subject exhibits markers of chronic sincerity and profit optimization. Access denied. Now wait just a minute. Energy fields gently but firmly escorted Gorman back outside. Jake tried really hard not to laugh and failed spectacularly. The vault has chosen its keeper, the AI announced. Captain Jake Morrison, Will you accept responsibility for the genetic archive and all it contains? Jake looked at his team. Vex gave a barely perceptible nod. Mira was practically vibrating with excitement. Pip looked terrified and thrilled in equal measure. Yes, I accept. Then welcome Keeper to the last laugh. 3 weeks later, Jake stood in the vault's cathedral-like interior, still getting used to the title Keeper of the Genetic Archive. The galaxy's response had been mixed. The Quellan High Council had filed 17 formal protests about humans being entrusted with universal genetic heritage. The Xinthians had offered to liberate the vault from human incompetence. The Crystalline Collective had simply broadcast confusion on all frequencies for 6 hours straight. You have to admit, Mira said, reviewing a crystalline database, it is pretty funny. The universe's greatest treasure, locked behind the biological equivalent of a dad joke. Vex had volunteered to stay as chief of security, which mostly involved keeping Gorman and his lawyers at bay. I'm beginning to understand human humor, he said, which was Quellan for, I have seen too much and can never go back. Pip had overcome his anxiety long enough to establish a research station. The genetic samples alone could restore hundreds of dead worlds. The scientific possibilities are... He'd passed out from excitement twice already. Jake watched his team, his family, really, working together. The vault had chosen well, he thought, not because humans were special, but because they were ridiculous enough to be trusted. A notification pinged. Another species requesting access to study the archive. The Physian Science Directorate this time. What do we tell them? Vex asked. Jake thought about it, about his grandmother's terrible pierogi and the cosmic joke that had led him here, about how the universe itself apparently had a sense of humor. Tell them they're welcome, but they have to listen to at least one of my stories first. That seems arbitrary. Commander, the entire universe is arbitrary. We might as well laugh about it. Later, alone in the vault's depths, Jake stood among the crystalline structures, holding the genetic keys to existence itself. The weight of responsibility pressed down on him. Billions of potential lives waiting to be restored, dead worlds waiting for resurrection, the hopes of extinct civilizations resting on his very human shoulders. It was absurd. It was impossible. It was completely insane. He started laughing. The vault hummed its approval, and in that moment, Jake understood. The precursors hadn't left behind a treasure or a weapon or a test. They'd left behind a reminder that in an infinite, cold, and often cruel universe, the ability to laugh, truly laugh, was the most powerful gift of all. Okay, Grandma, he said to the stars beyond the vault. I get it now. Sometimes you just have to laugh at the pierogi and keep moving forward. The vault's AI flickered beside him. I don't understand the pierogi reference. Don't worry, Jake grinned. You will. We've got about 12 million species to resurrect, and I'm going to tell you about every one of my family's worst cooking disasters along the way. Is that necessary? Absolutely not. But that's what makes it perfect. Behind him, he heard Mira's laughter echo through the crystalline forest, followed by Pip's nervous giggle, and even Vex's mandible clicking that passed for Quellan amusement. The universe was vast and strange and full of mysteries. But for the first time in 3,000 years, the vault wasn't empty anymore. It was full of laughter. And that, Jake thought, was exactly how it should be.